everybody, it is Brooke, and I am back with your bonus content for Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 4. If you're watching this on Patreon, thank you for supporting me there. I really do appreciate it. You're seeing this early and for free, even if you're just a free member on Patreon. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you for being here as well. Both ways are helpful. You can support the channel for free by subscribing, and you can go back and watch all the previous ones if you'd like. If this is your first one, you're finding this video and you're like, ooh, Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 4 character tier list, I'll watch that. I am watching the whole show, and I do a character tier list between every season, just so if people want, they can go back and watch like my season 1, 2, 3 character tier list and see how my views on characters, new and old, have changed or moved around. I think it's a fun way to also recap the season a little bit before diving into the next one, which will for us be season 5. Season 4 wise, it was a very interesting season. It felt a lot like a transition season for production, for the actors, and for the characters, and the storyline. Like, and I think it was meant to be a part of the plot. It really felt like it lined up well. So I don't think it was like an accident. I just think when you're fully changing the setting from high school to college, characters are kind of changing. It's a place for them to reinvent themselves, and things like that. It leads to a lot of change. So it does really feel like the show was refinding its identity the same way the characters were. And while I don't think season 4 is my favorite season, I still think it was really fun. So for the characters on this list, it's mostly like main characters. Like one-offs aren't really on here, except maybe I guess the mayor is kind of a one-off, but he's like more like a dream mayor, but we'll get there. Actually, we can start with him right now. He's only in Face Dream. I hope I never have to see him again. Again, while we dive in, before we get diving into the important characters, this is all my opinion. It is not based on performance, or like the actors themselves, or ethics. I don't know. Some people get mad when I rank people they like low because they're like, well, ethically they did nothing wrong, and I'm like, I don't care. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. It's my opinion. It's my thoughts. You are free to agree or disagree with me in the comments. I only ask that you remain respectful to me and each other and yourself, just because it's a TV show. It is not worth actually getting angry or letting something ruin your day or calling people names over characters from a TV show that's not even on anymore. Like, that's crazy material. We all see people differently, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, if we all had the same perspective watching a show, it'd be kind of boring as hell. So I encourage you to share your opinions. If you don't like my tier list, this is up for free on tiermaker.com. You can come make your own tier list as well. Share it with me in Discord or on Patreon. I'd love to see where you rank everyone after this season. But our tiers are going to be Slay Girl Slay. That's for our top boss bitches, our people who ruled the season, who I really liked. We're friends means I like you, but maybe it's not like you weren't my top this season, but you're very close. Hey, you were here is for people I just kind of feel neutral about. I don't have negative emotions towards them or positive. I'm like, you were in the show, which I think this is a show where not too many people are going to show up in that tier, actually. But we'll see. I see you, we just don't vibe. That means, well, they're not a character for me, or they're a bad guy, right? But I still kind of, like, they just don't scream awesome character to me. I put them there, and I hope I never see you again. It goes for people I don't like, and sometimes people achieve that by being bad guys. Like, I'm someone who, even if someone's a good bad guy, that means they're probably in that tier because I hate them. It's not a crack on, like, the writing or, again, the actor or anything. It's just, I'm like, oh, you pissed me off all season because you were supposed to. This is where you belong. It's very objective. It's totally how I'm vibing in the moment as well. So it can all change. Let's see. It looks like we're starting with Adam. Villain-wise, I think Adam was interesting. He was definitely compelling. There were times where I was really confused how they were going to beat him. I think he comes in at a good time because you kind of had that mystery at the beginning of the season of, like, who are these army guys? And that develops into, oh, these are the army guys, but what are they up to? Oh, they don't even know what's really going on. And then we see Adam, he escapes. I think his final plan was a little underwhelming just because it didn't super get off the ground. Like, his plan was to use the demon parts and the human parts to make, like, an army and a new race, basically. And he is able to do that to, like, one other guy before they stop him. Not that that's bad that they stopped him, but I almost feel like stakes would have a little been higher if, like, he did get away with, like, what happened in the initiative, and then Buffy and them had to, like, beat his army back to defeat him. I feel like that could have added a little more weight. But I still liked it. I still enjoyed the storyline. I think the actor did a really great job, and I found Adam pretty compelling. I don't think we'd vibe in real life. But I also think I still kind of, like, liked him. So I think he's higher than, like, where I'm like, I fucking hate that guy. Like, Adam, I was like, oh, he's kind of interesting. We would not vibe. Because he wants to kill people. But, like, it was interesting because, like, when I first saw him, I was like, oh my god, Walsh is, like, experimenting on this guy. I feel bad for him, kind of thing. And I think he was really interesting. So for villains are normally farther down just because I go off what they've done in the season. And I think Adam was actually a really interesting one. So I think that's where we go. Our boy Angel was in 2 Buffy episodes this season. This is hard, right? Because am I ranking him for just his appearances in Buffy season 4? Or do I include what happened in Angel season 1 since it was happening at the same time? I mean, I think Angel always goes and we're friends. I think if this was Angel season 1, he'd be higher. But this is for when he appeared in Buffy both times. I think he was entertaining when he was there. I was on his side most of the times he was there. I think I disagreed with him in the Thanksgiving episode where he didn't tell her that he showed up. I think I didn't agree with him there, but it doesn't drop him for me. I just like Angel as a character, so I enjoyed seeing the moments when he came back. But there's not too much to say. He wasn't in that many scenes in this show. We'll talk about him more when we do the Angel tier list next week? Yeah, probably Sunday next week, I think, is when that comes out. Don't quote me on that. But, yeah, I think that's fair. I think Anya is in We're Friends. She did really grow on me. I think last season I probably had her lower. But Anya really grew on me this season. I still don't think she's one of my faves ever. I do think she fills in a sarcastic quota we have been missing since Cordy left. I think her and Xander are funny, but they really only got one episode where they got to really shine. Especially Anya, which was the episode where Buffy and Riley were, like, banging the whole time and, like, the Vines were taking over the frat house. That kind of felt like Anya's moment to shine this season. And her bunny outfit in the Halloween episode. I love that. But, like, I think they struggled with what to do with her other than to be Xander's girlfriend. Like, a lot of her jokes are the same. But I hope they'll, like, develop her a little bit, maybe into her own person in the next season. Because it's really, like, if Anya's on screen, she's either not going to understand a human reference, she's going to talk about revenge, or she's going to talk about wanting to sleep with Xander. You got a 33% chance of guessing what she's going to talk about, right? So I do hope they'll develop her a bit more in the next season, but I still do enjoy her, so I'm going to put her on We're Friends. This picture they chose for Buffy is so funny. But my girl Buffy goes in Slay Girl Slay. We did have some disagreements this season, me and Buffy, but overall, I feel like I agreed with a lot of her decisions, and even when I did not, I understood her motives. I think she had a hard time adjusting to college in the beginning, which I really related to as someone who struggles with change, and routine is very important to me. When I went to college, it was way harder the first week for me, where other people were still so excited it hadn't really hit them yet. And then when other people were starting to get homesick, I was getting used to my new routine and I was doing way better. And so I kind of related to her struggling with that in the beginning. She did suffer a bit this season from I got a new boyfriend, so I'm not talking to my friends vibes, which is something I'm not the biggest fan of personally, but it happens. It's realistic. I think it's realistic for Buffy too, because she's also already so busy with slaying that of course she wants to put all her free time into her new relationship. But I liked that Buffy didn't stay misted by the initiative for too long. I definitely could have seen that running long. I think they did a good amount of time before Dr. Walsh tried to fucking kill her and Buffy was all, you fucked with the wrong girl, bro. I love that. I love that she kind of stood up to Riley a lot. She didn't really just give in whenever he wanted to do something or what he thought. Like, he would be like, demons are just this, and she'd be like, no, they're fucking not. I think she initiated a lot of the change in his personality, and I liked that. I think we really saw her grow into, okay, I am an adult now, I'm an adult Slayer. It is a little different. She wasn't relying on Giles too much, which we'll get to when we talk about him. And I think overall, she comes out of this season very confident, very strong. That last episode was a little wild with all the dream sequences and, like, the first Slayer's spirit, like, haunting them. But she stands up to it and makes it very clear that she is her own person. She is not just the Slayer. But we are left with these words from Tara from her dream about how they're not really, she doesn't even know what's coming. So I do think she's going to face some fate or something dark coming in the next season. But I think she's ready for it. She's, like, rebuilt her friendship relationships as well. I don't know about her relationship with Riley. I guess he's gonna be in season 5. 'Cause, like, they didn't say he was leaving. But we'll talk about him more in a minute. Faith, right? Okay, so Faith is gonna be one of the ones where people are like, you are being hypocritical. And yeah, I am, but it's my tier list and I get to do that. Because I love Faith this season. And she's not in a lot of it. And I was pretty fucking mad at her. Oh, wait, but that's Angel. Oh my god, wait, what, guys, what do I do about Faith? I just realized I was thinking completely based off of the Angel episodes, but Faith is only in 2 Buffy episodes. This is the one thing about watching them together. Do I talk about Faith over the entire Faith arc, which is like 4 solid episodes? Or do I only talk about the 2 episodes with which she was in Buffy? That's a little harder, right? It's easy to do that for Angel because, like, he has that whole show, but, like, the Buffy Faith stuff and the Angel Faith stuff are connected. But I think if I didn't have the Angel knowledge, I wouldn't put her in Slay Girl Slay. Because I loved the 2 Angel episodes with her way more than I liked the Buffy episodes with her. Ooh, decisions. Okay, I'm gonna talk about the 2 episodes she was in on Buffy, and then so that I have something different to talk about in the Angel video. You already know where she's gonna go over there, but so that I have 2 different things to talk about in case you're someone who's gonna watch both rankings. For the 2 episodes of her waking up in the coma, switching places with Buffy, and then switching back, I think, hey, you were here. I was not that impressed. I was like, oh, it's cool that she's waking up, and, like, I think it was a tough couple episodes for Buffy. She did a good job being a villain against Buffy. But I wasn't like, oh my god, this is amazing character development. There was, like, a little bit in there when she hooked up with Riley and, like, realized that there are people who don't only want one thing from women, and, like, it was very confusing for her. We started seeing her self-loathing, which was super interesting. But it kind of ends there, and then stop, and I have to talk about that in the other video. But I think for just her showing in Buffy, I wasn't like, OMG, Faith is back. Oh, like, I was like, oh, that's cool, she's a great villain, but I wasn't, like, super invested in her. I was more invested in Buffy getting her body back. I think that's fair. Oh my god, his friend, I hope I never see this man again, and he's dead, he exploded, I don't have to. Oh, and they put the picture of him when he's part demon. Bro, he might have been better when he was part demon. What are you talking about? This guy was, like, shitty from the first time we met him. He was, like, talking about women like fucking cattle immediately. And I was like, I do not vibe with this guy. And then he's kind of nice to Riley. And then the minute Buffy and him get together, he becomes, like, this dickish, jealous guy who's talking about how Riley's... You're changing because of her. You don't want to just indiscriminately kill people anymore. Like, it's fucking crazy. He's so annoying. He immediately accuses Buffy of killing, fucking Marsh, which makes no fucking sense. And then when he's a demon, he's still being an asshole. And then Riley blows him up, and he got what he deserved. I didn't like him as a human. I didn't like him as a demon. I think he was a bad friend. And I'm glad he's gone. Giles is interesting. Giles, I think, makes it to we're friends category because of how much I like Giles, but honestly, his performance this season, he may belong in Hey, You Were Here. If I'm honest, like, not, because I still love Giles, I want to put him here, but if I think about, like, his story arc this season, I'm like, that might be where you belong. I'm still gonna put him here, because I love him. But I think a lot of that love that is having me put him there is entirely based off the previous 3 seasons. And this isn't, like, the character's fault. This one is a little bit more related to, it felt like he didn't know what he was doing, which I think was intentional, but it also felt like the writers didn't always know what they were doing with him. He had a couple of really good episodes, like the one with Ethan Rayne, where he gets turned into a demon. And I liked his, like, banter with Spike a lot. But overall, like, I'm like, Giles saved them from the haunted house. And then I'm like, okay. And then he... What? What did he do this season? And I mean, I think part of that was intentional, right? Because he's also in a transition period of he's no longer the librarian. He's also no longer technically a watcher. And Buffy doesn't really need him as much as she did before. They're kind of developing a new, more of a partnership than, like, him training and leading her. So I think it fits with the transition cycle of the season, but it did just kind of leave him to kind of just be in the background sometimes, and he sang a couple times. His voice was nice, but there weren't too many moments where I felt myself going, yeah, Giles, let's go, or, like, getting really excited about his storyline or characters. So he's still friends because he's got the history to back it up, but if I was ranking it based on how he was utilized this season, it might be Hey, You Were Here. But I'm doing it based on how much I like the character within the context of the seasons. So Oz is a hard one. Because I really liked him at the beginning of this season, and then he leaves. So, like, they're doing good. He's Oz up till that episode with the other werewolf girl, who he kills to protect Willow, and then he leaves. And he doesn't come back till way later, and he's like, I control my werewolf now, and we can get back together, and I don't think your life has changed at all, or anything. He's still Oz, and I still like him. But I'm like, where does he go? The showing in the episode when he came back, maybe like him a little less. Not entirely his fault, but just me. I think because I got attached to Tara and Willow really quickly, I like their vibe a lot. it's hard because, I mean, if it was up to me, they'd be a throuple. It is obviously not up to me. But I think Oz, like, sitting here after everything that happened in the season, I don't know if we'll even see him in season 5. I think he was here. Like, I think it's hard when you're not in the full season as well to get those higher up spots. Just because I'm like, yeah, Oz was Oz in the beginning, and then he kind of pissed me off in the return episode. So it's like, I still vibe with him. I still like him. If he came back, I still think he'd be an asset. He technically came back in the finale in that dream for like 10 seconds. I wonder how much they paid Seth Green to show up to just do that scene. That would be kind of interesting to know. But he wasn't like, I wasn't as like OMG Oz as I was in season 3 with this season. So, and I don't think you're supposed to be, right, because he leaves and he's not in it as much. So I think that's fair. Riley's interesting. Riley does deserve points for having the best room decor in the show with the balls poster. But I think I've been pretty honest with you guys about Riley throughout the show. And I don't want people to take where I'm thinking of putting him as, like, again, a slight on the actor or the writing or even the character if you really like Riley. But if I'm honest, throughout the season, even the moments where I really liked him, I don't think I vibe just with the character in general. Not saying I think he shouldn't have been in this season or he should be taken out or, like, removed. That is not it. It's just I think there are some characters each of us vibes a little less with. Like, I found myself in, like, almost every conversation being on the other person's side, other than when he was dealing with, like, Adam or his friend. But, like, every time him and Buffy had a disagreement, I was on Buffy's side. Every time, like, I don't know. I liked him more in the beginning when he was just, like, Willow's, like, friend. I liked that he got more involved with the season. I think it's just character-wise, I'm like, I feel like if I was, like, met up with someone and we were like, oh, they were like, what season of Buffy did you just watch? And I talked about season 4. I would talk about how, like, Riley's nice and all, but, like, I don't really see it as much. And he's not, like, a super interesting character to me. I also think his ending fell a little flat for the season, but I guess that's because he's gonna be in the next season. But, like, his whole world gets turned upside down. His friends die. His, like, boss dies. Like, he loses all his faith in the government. And I feel like it kind of affects him, but not to the level I would expect. You know, like, I think I also thought he was gonna die. So that might be part of it, of me being like, what he gonna do now? But I think it's just a character that I'm like, I like him as a person. Like, if he was a real person, he seems like he'd be nice. But as a character in the show, I'm just kind of like, not for me, but I can understand why other people might really like him. So I hope people who do really like him don't take it as an attack. It's not like I think he's bad or anything. It's just me as a person. His, like, a character that I'm just like, okay. So I hope that's okay with everybody and nobody gets offended. If you are offended, well, it's a TV show, so I'm not that upset about it. Spike's interesting. I feel like this season, he's honestly Slay Girl Slay because I had so much fun. Even when he was betraying he was so fun. Like, that's crazy for me to think because I feel like I flash back to me calling him Ramen Hair the first time we ever saw him. And I'm like, who knew I'd ever put Spike in, like, one of the best of this season, but I think he carried a lot of the comedy this season. He still felt, even with the chip, more like himself. He was still going through a transition of getting used to the chip, but he still felt like Spike. And I think that almost gave him an advantage as the other characters were growing and changing. It was like Spike almost refusing to grow and change along with them made his storyline kind of stick out. I also think the chip was a fun way to make it possible for him to be like Scooby Gang adjacent. It made sense. It introduced the initiative to us. Like, so much of the main storyline was attached to Spike. And I think he did a great job with it without making it fully about him. Like, he introduces us to the initiative. He escapes from the initiative. We see that time when he can't kill Willow and she's like comforting him was so funny. We get that one where Willow's accidentally like everything she says is happening and him and Buffy are like planning their wedding. There's just a lot of good moments around Spike. He's definitely like an anti-hero, like not to the level of Deadpool, but like almost that kind of humor vibe to me this season, like a PG Deadpool. But I had a lot of fun with Spike this season. I hope he sticks around for season 5. I mean, he still has the chip in his head, so I don't know where he would go. But yeah, I had a lot of fun with him this season. I really like what they did with him, and it made me like the character a lot more, even if it was mostly just comedic stuff. Tara, Slay Girl Slay. I know she's new. I know she's only been here a season. I loved her. She was like my favorite new character. There weren't that many new like main characters this season, but she's top for me. You know I like magical girls, okay? I know there's something she's not telling us, and she's got a lot more power, I think, than she's showing. But I vibe her. She also has a cat now. When she was first introduced, she definitely stood out to me. I was like, oh my god, Willow is going to have a friend to practice magic with, which means I kind of saw that as Willow just get to prove in magic, but Tara really grew on me. And then there were flirty vibes, and I was like, am I wishful thinking, or are there actual flirty vibes here? And the show actually came through, and there were flirty vibes. I was like, OMG, they're not just going to be like... For a minute, I thought they were going to be the couple that everyone writes fanfiction about because the show just won't make it happen. And the show went, no, bitch, you can have some lesbians. And I went, I do have a very bad fear, though, just because of the time period of the show, that they gave me lesbians so they can bury one of them. If you do watch a lot of, like, queer media or read queer media, you know for a long time it was very common for shows to be like, you can have the gay, but they die. So Tara's surviving. I was kind of happy she missed a lot of the final episodes because I was like, she can't die if she's not here. She's safe. And I don't see them killing Willow, so if one of them's gonna go underground. But I really like her. I like her vibe. The actress has a really cool take on the character that makes her really interesting and feel more magical. She has like this raspy voice, and she's kind of shy and quiet, and she's very different to our loud characters we're used to. And I think that's awesome because I think her and Willow play off each other so well. And we can almost, she does such a good job of, you can see Tara being slightly more confident when it's just her and Willow versus other people are around. And I think I just relate to her a lot in, like, being shyer and, like, especially being, like, she definitely has some self-doubt, and I think we all can relate to that. But I just really enjoy Tara's character. I'm glad she lived. I hope she's still going to be in season 5. I'm excited to see where her and Willow go. And I hope they get even more magic because I love the magic in this show and I hope they use more and more of it. Maggie Walsh. Cool. Nobody likes you. Goodbye. Goodbye. Rude to Willow in the episode after Oz left. Tries to kill Buffy. Well, look at what the fuck she did to Adam. That's why he up there. He didn't do that to himself. She did it. Wanted to, like, make demon-human hybrids without their permission so the government could use them in war. Weirdo. So, yeah, I don't like her. Like, I'm not gonna pretend to like her. She was the nicest she ever was when she was a bloody demon thing at the end. Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to like Dr. Walsh. There's, like, a couple moments where you're like, ooh, she could be, like, just, like, that mean, inspirational teacher, and then you're like, no, she's crazy. She's crazy. Let's move on. The faces they picked for these screen caps, I'm dying. Do we do Willow or Xander first? Let's do Xander first, because I may surprise people where he goes, because I don't remember the last time I put Xander this high. There were 1 or 2 moments where I went, Xander, shut the fuck up this season. But overall, he was fine this season. There were even moments where he made me laugh. And there were moments where he was helpful. So he gets to move up in the ranking. If you're new, and this is the first video you are watching of mine, Xander's not my fave, if I'm honest. I do love his hatred of Nazis and genocide. I love that he talks about punching Nazis a lot. That is a plus for Xander. A con is his attitude before this season. But I do like, he is very clear he is fully over Buffy this season. There's no, like, pining for her, and that helped me so much, because I was so annoyed with him in the beginning seasons. Even when he fucks up here, and, like, there's the time he tells Riley the truth about her and Angel, because he thought Buffy did it. Even then, I was like, Xander, shut the fuck up. But I wasn't like, oh my god, he's doing it to be an asshole. Compared to the thing I still am mad about him, where he didn't tell Buffy that Willow was trying the spell to get Angel's soul back again. We won't get into it. I've talked about it. You should watch the season 2 character tier list if you want to talk about that. But, he was low. But this season, I mean, I feel bad because I think part of it is that Xander's not in a lot of, like, main parts of this season. A lot of the time he's in the back with Anya. But I think he works best as, like, the support character with a little couple of jokes here and there than he does when they make him the main focus of an episode, if I'm honest. So, you know what? I'll give him that. We're friends this season. We're not, like, best friends, but we're, like, I'd hang out with him and not get too annoyed. And so he can be there for now. And our final, my girl Willow, who went through a lot this season, is up in my Slay Girl Slay category. I'm sorry, Buffy. Willow always goes first. I don't put it in that order based that, but for Willow is always on top. For me. Willow had an amazing season. She started with kind of reinventing herself in college, which I loved. She and Oz were going pretty strong, but she went through some shit with him. So we had a arc of them being broken up and Willow, like, dabbling in magic and emotions, and we really saw her grow from that breakup. She met Tara. They started doing more magic together. She focused more on her magic and her friendship with Tara, which led into a romantic relationship. I think a lot of the times where Willow was making a mistake, again, you understood why. And I think Willow saved their asses a lot this season. I think she's really funny while still being dramatic and, like, feeling like a big part of a lot of the storylines. She also kind of still attached us to the before of, like, struggling with your friends, like, growing apart and stuff. But I think it felt like a really real person, other than magic we can't do in real life. But I think Willow just feels like a very well-rounded character who is attached to almost all of the different parts of the story. Like, even in the very early stages of Riley and Buffy, it's Riley talking to Willow about Buffy. I also think you really see Willow's growth in the episode where Oz comes back. She is struggling, because she cares about them both. But I think we kind of can tell what decision she was going to make, compared to, like, if he had come back a couple episodes after he left, she probably would have taken him back in an instant. And now she kind of is reflecting on, like, I have grown without you here. I think differently now. I feel different things. And I think that's very realistic, and I really, like, related to that. And obviously her magic helped save the day near the end there. Her dream was fucking relatable as hell, having to go on stage and you don't know what's happening. Which I think was also her nightmare back in high school with the opera stuff, which she referenced, which was funny. But you guys know I have a soft spot for Willow. I think she's still my favorite character. And I'm excited to see how she grows in season 5. Overall, I think this is actually way more even tier list than I thought it was going to be. But I just wanted to share my honest opinions of the season as a whole and of the characters. I think as a whole, not my favorite season. That doesn't mean I think it's bad. I just think season 3 was, like, so almost perfect that this season by itself is maybe not as good, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I could see some people liking this season more if they just like the vibe more. I think this season does have the lifted of me watching Angel at the same time because it makes it feel more fleshed out. I don't know if that helped or hurt. I think it helped, but I guess it could have also hurt because I was watching them more spread out than I did when I watched just a season. But I think it gave it a little more oomph. Because, like, with Faith and, like, Angel, I was almost like, well, this happened. And then I'm like, oh, that didn't happen in this season. It happened in the other fucking show. So, you know, it's kind of a mixed bag there. But I still really enjoyed this season. I'm very excited. I've heard a lot of good things about season 5. So I'm excited to see how it's going to turn out. I have a couple friends who really love season 5. I think some of you guys have mentioned in comments you really like season 5. So I'm really excited. We'll be starting that. This is coming out. You're seeing this Wednesday. So then there's Angel on Saturday. And then the next week will be 2 more Angel. And the week after that, there'll be an Angel. And then season 5 of Buffy will be starting 2.5 weeks from now-ish. Just because of the guide. Obviously, a week earlier on Patreon. So if you're getting the itch for Buffy, you can check it out on Patreon. Other than that, let me know what you think of where I listed everybody. And I will see you guys next time.